Alright, let's get this Lilly shit out the way. Last thing I was talking about was back turn heat smash is a low. And it's a low that's 16 frames. So standing, stand block, no, punish. Right, see he jabs, 10 frame jab. If I'm in back turn, I can do 1-1 into back turn into a heat smash, and that's like 60 damage. So effectively, Lilly's like heat smash can be done as a flowchart for 60 damage, just like a regular heat smash, right? Meaning like this into a heat smash, like 1-1 back turn into heat smash, essentially is like an extension of it. Because you can't disrespect, and your first thought is stand block, right? And someone's response is like, oh, the way you get around that is easy to defend against. Just block low. Yeah, true, that is how you defeat that sequence if you are punished by 1-1 into back turn. Into heat smash, you block low. But for the first part, it's -8. So let me turn on punish. Block all. Right. It's -8. So back turn. Stay completely safe. I can turn back around before I get hit by anything. So it's a safe heat smash. And a lot of heat smashes in the game are safe. They might leave you like +1. They also give you transitions if you transition to your stance. So there are like heat smashes that are safe, but those are mids. The safe heat smashes are ones that don't force you to change what you're doing. The safe heat smashes, you can be stand blocking, see a bunch of bullshit going on. I want no problems with that. The heat smash, and you can just keep doing this. You can just keep holding back. Right? This is a low heat smash. The counter action point would be like, oh, she's in back turn, so you know whenever she's back turn, she's gonna do the like heat smash, right? I can't remember if it's probably steppable. I'll say that. Like you could probably sidestep it if you think she's going to do it, which is already a hard thing to even contemplate. Like it's a hard thing to even like visualize the correct timing of, okay, she has heat, back turn, I'm a sidestep now. Because you have to react essentially to the back turn or any move that makes her back turn automatically. So you would have to know all of those and be ready for those immediately. So you'll see, okay, back turn, like that move, you'd be already pressing the side step button. Like you'd be already ready to get out. That's how fast you have to react to it. In fact, if I have him stand block, what is it? 1-1 is -5. But the assumption being isn't that you're hitting 1-1 on block. 1-1 on block is almost brain dead. For the purposes of what we're talking about. Because it leaves you -5. Or, no, -6, I think. I actually can't see that. So it's opponent, frame data, show frame advantage. So 1-1, -6, meaning sidestepping isn't really gonna work. Alright. So you're giving up your turn into back turn, so you just have to turn back around. Or if you think they're gonna jab, do something evasive. Right? That's the point. Now, the other thing I was going to say. Actually, no, because I haven't finished my point. Yeah, that's me. I'm kind of a spacehead right now. The assumption being the way that I'm going to use the move, the way that you should use the move, is that since 1-1 is a 10 frame button, you're using it as a punish. Let's say you're facing Clive, because that's who I want to face. I'm going to actually bring him back, because I'd rather do it with Clive, because I remember Clive's moves, even though I labbed him before I labbed Kazuya. I just don't remember Kazuya's moves being like I just can't remember any of them. I can't, like, off the top of my head. If I seen them, I could be like, yeah, I think that's negative. Or, like, I'm pretty sure that's negative. I just don't know the amount. So, practice, standing. Alright. So the idea is, let's say we have him do Titan, right? You can do 1-1 as a punish, and you're in back turn. Since it's minus 14. So assuming he does something like Titan, which, come on, Clive is going to use that move. Or literally any of his other moves, because they're negative. You can do 1-1 and you're +4 into back turn. And let's see, we're gonna do side walk left. Right, so he side walks. I keep messing up. So no, you can't sidestep left. Maybe you're right. No, you can't sidestep right either. So essentially, you can't sidestep it. You can't back up either because you can't crouch while backing up. So you have to block low immediately to beat this. And sure, it's only 39 damage, quote unquote. But including the 1-1, it's around 60. So if someone's at half-life, if they're at 80 health, this combo essentially is going to kill them, almost. Like, it's going to be the end of the game. So let me do display, and then for practice, we're going to set the player health to, let's do 50%. So, not my health. Opponent's health. 50. So, see, the amount of health he has is 90, right? We have 180 health in the game. He's at 90 health right now. If I go into back turn, well, I guess I do the full strength, right? It may not seem like a lot from the initial amount of health. In fact, the best way to show this would be 50%. Alright. Right. So he has that much health left, and you're left in back turn, which is her main stance. So if she gets that damage into back turn, her main stance, she gets to go for another mix-up upon, like, wake up. So she gets basically Oki afterwards, like, automatically, because you don't get knocked that far back. You're basically right in front of her. She can hit you with the sweep. She can do whatever move she wants from back turn. Like, this seems like a decent chunk of health, even though you still are, like, hurting. Like, this is death. All of that was non-recoverable health except for the last hit. And then you have to guess for life. I'm not saying it's broken. I'm not even saying that this is one of the top moves in the game. I'm just saying that to like ignore this entirely and be like, oh, it's just 30 health, like you can eat that and be fine, may be true in the sense of like you get back up, but you might not live when you get back up. Like, it's a low heat smash that tracks. So the thing is, I tried sidewalking Kazuya's heat smash. I couldn't. I'm not gonna see if I can sidewalk anybody else's. You have to sidewalk heat smashes. I'm pretty sure. From basically, you have to walk them early. Like you have to get out of there early. So there's no like jab heat. Like if they spam the button, you're getting hit by it. What I want to do next is go through back turn, because the second thing I was going to say was the justification. Justification is such a strange word to use. It's almost like I'm accusing her of something. The second point people would bring up of like, no, whatever, the move's not that strong, or so what, this exists, would be since she's in back turn, it's a low, so it doesn't matter. You just block the low. The second she goes in the back turn with heat, you just go and block low. Problem. How long are you gonna block low for? I guess you could block low in a dick jab, which is 10 frames, and just, ignore all of that. But my problem is, upon memorizing every single move that enters you into back turn automatically on Lilly, so that in the event while she's in heat and you see her do that move, so you can block the low heat smash, you're forgetting that it's an entire stance. You're forgetting that back turn isn't just a heat smash. It has an armored move, an armored mid move. So if you block low, you get smacked in the face. But you're like, oh, I didn't die for that. And the thing is, I'm not even sure if this is a launcher or not. Alright? It's not. But it is a 14 frame armored move that's a mid. That, keep in mind, leaves you +8. So I'm +8 in neutral. Snake edges are possible, even though it's still visible if you're good. Like, 30 frames is more than visible. If you're good at the game, you can block it. Like, there's other moves she can do. There's fast lows. Like, this low here leaves her +1. There's things Lilly can do afterwards, upon hitting you with +8, that will immediately make you question what to do. Because if you're +8, if she's +8, and you're like, okay, let me press something, and you get hit, and she's in front facing standing, she could just hit you with 1-1, and guess what? We're back at this situation again. We're back at the guessing game. She can armor again. But again, guessing is essentially like the point of fighting games. You're guessing what option they're going to go for. You're trying to get into the mind of the other person. Understandable. So we have to look at the options to see what we actually have going on. So back facing 1, 2. Alright, let's see. Practice. Alright. -13. Starts with the high. It's an 8 frame move. So I was saying this earlier. Another back turn base character is Raven. Raven's one jab from back turn is 8 frames. I always kind of questioned why that would be so, because I guess in there's scenarios in my brain I logically went, well, it's 8 frames, there's gonna be 2 to compensate, you know what I mean? But like, now that I'm thinking about it, if the move is transitioning you into back turn, you know, on plus or on block, 8 frames is 8 frames. Like 8 frames is just 8 frames. Like there's no like weird gimmicks, at least that I know of, So purely enough, Lily and Raven just have, you know, 8-frame moves, like 8-frame jabs. So technically, they can out jab you if, in a theory, if they're back turn and you're front facing and you do it at the same time. Right. Let's see. It was 8 I-18 minus 13 on block. A high mid. Right. And it knocks down. Not to a combo. And you can't get a forward 1+2 on it. So I'm not quite sure what you would use it for, per se. Right. I guess you could do it as like a "Are you standing?" check, but even then, it's kind of questionable. Like I'm not gonna lie, because the follow-up being a high means it can be ducked, obviously. So there's gonna be like mid options people are gonna be scared of in the first place to duck. The question is it sidesteppable? Like, which direction could you sidestep this? I'm trying to think. What's a... Because truthfully, you could sidestep a lot of options just by sidestepping early. Alright, we have back facing 1-4. A heating gauge. High. So, here's the deal. So far, we have a high mid. Alright. And then for the second move, we have a high. This looks like it's going to be setting up a trend where there's going to be a bunch of high moves that incentivize people to duck, and then we have like a mid that makes them stop ducking. Still tied to 8-frame move, as in back turn 1. It's -5 on block. And a heat engager. I should write that down. Since it's a heat engager tied to an 8-frame jab, you can essentially guarantee this. Because if you transition into back turn with positive, like your plus on block, you can basically use the one jab as a frame trap. So at least that way, you know, it like you can frame trap your way into a heat engager because you're gonna beat them no matter what, right? You just have a jab that's faster than a 10 frame. So you can go right. We have back facing 2. Which is an armored move. So 14 frame startup, -13 on block. It's a mid, of course. And that's an armored move. Now, this move kind of doesn't have the best range, but it is decent enough to like reach from here. Here it's gonna miss, but here it's gonna hit. This move looks linear, as in like maybe you could if you are able to spot when they're gonna transition, you probably can walk a lot of these options because they look very linear, right? It won't be too hard to figure out in a second after I get this done. But there's going to be a homing option. There's always a homing option. And here it is. Back facing 3, 4. So it's a homing mid, 14 frames. Alright. It's minus 10 on block. But if we set him to punish... So yeah, you are indeed jab punishable. I guess the problem with like minus 10 moves is that you're only going to be punished by 2 types of people. Someone who's very intelligent, someone who's very patient, someone who has very good recognition of moves, who like has labbed the character, played the character, like they've looked at all the options, they've watched replays, they're really a good player at that point. They've made sure that they are prepared for the matchup. Because face it, minus 10 moves, to call out something as minus 10 means you have to specifically, 1, do the lab work to be like, okay, this is punishable, and 2, be at a point where you're looking for more damage. Because let's face it, anything minus 10, some of us will go, you got it, bro. I'm not going to punish that move. Minus 14, minus 13, minus 12, minus 11, we're going to try to punish that. Minus 10, I'm not really going to try. That's why I call those moves pseudo-safe. Because mentally, someone could be like, no, I don't want to punish it, or 2, I'm not going to take the risk, or even though there's not even a risk in trying, right? Some people will go, I'm not trying like to punish it. I'm just gonna go for a jab, or like they mentally don't catch on in time. Like they don't get the punish, but they get the jab, which is +1, so they don't lose for trying to punish it, right? The reason I say that they're a good player if they're trying to punish it is because you can take your +1 like on jab on block and do work with it. You can do things with that, right? You can jab +1 into a grab. If they don't break grabs, then you know you have a solid system, because at least that way they can only beat your grab with a jab of their own. Only someone who's trying, like actually trying to do good at the game, trying hard, is gonna go, okay, let me memorize all these options in back turn. Let me memorize which ones are punishable and make sure I punish each and every last one of them. Because getting jabbed in the face for doing a move like back turn, alright, doing this and getting jabbed in the face for it does 2 main things mentally. It dissuades you from like doing it in the future, and it communicates that your opponent like is good, which only psychs you out more if you're like a nervous player, right? And most people gain like advantage states off their jabs anyway. They get plus frames, they go into stances. Like Reina 112 puts her into Sentai. It doesn't wall splat, but like brings her into Sentai, which you can do a mix up from, right? So people get like their own mixes off of their 1 jab strings, right? People get benefit off of that. The 112 string for all the Mishimas into Oki, like you get the point. The second type of player is fucking trash cans. People who are just going to spam. And I know it seems like a dick thing to say, but like, just because you can back turn 3-4 and they punish you doesn't mean that they understand how negative that is. Most people probably don't even care about frame damage. I'm not gonna lie. They're most likely punishing you accidentally and just jabbing, thinking that you're gonna press, or they go, oh, that's probably like -12 or something. They don't actually know how negative that is. And they're just mashing. They're just pressing buttons. There's nothing wrong with either of these two types of people. But anyone who's decently competent at the game is not really going to know that that's like that back turn is -10. They're not gonna care. I shouldn't say decently competent. Anyone who's average at the game, who's trying not to like just press buttons and spam, trying to use movement, they're gonna see that move and they're not really gonna test it out because they don't know. And they might go into the lab and find out later and eventually become that good player. But they're not gonna like go out of their way to go, I wonder if that's -13. And then try to fit that in. Because two things. One, by the time they have that thought, they're gonna be wrong. Two, they're gonna end up spending more time in the game looking out for that back turn, like 3-4 option. Which, if the Lilly is using it as a homing move, she's only doing it to stop you from sidestepping. So you would have to like sidestep more to make her do it, which is putting your life at stake. What else is there about this move? -10 on block, 14 frame starter. Okay. Alright, so a key part of this move, as you saw me figuring out there, is that the part that's homing is the first kick. The second kick might track, I'm not sure. I'm not testing that out right now. But the first part is at least the one that's denoted to be homing. And it automatically enters you into crouch. And since it enters you into crouch, obviously you get access to while rising moves. Right? So that's why when I did back turn 3 and I press 4, I get a while rising 4. Actually, I might be wrong. It's always good to test these things. Yeah, I'm wrong. Standing 4, this is her kick. It only enters you in the crouch for a second. Yeah, so you don't actually enter crouch with it, which is tragic. Another bad part about this move, the first part is -10 and it's homing, right? The second part is -12, and I'm pretty sure it's 30 frame startup. And anything that's normally that slow has a downside of being interruptible. So apparently if you try to interrupt this time, if you try to interrupt here, you get knocked down. Not to a combo, but you do get a guaranteed follow-up, which is tragic. Right? So, it's not slow enough to jab, but it does look slow enough to sidestep. So, what I'm going to try is sidestep 5. Yeah. And then sidestep right. The only issue for this is that you're not safe. So, if you didn't know, back turn, if it wasn't obvious, literally means when your back is facing the opponent. So right now, she is currently in stance. The only difference is the distance between you and her is large enough that she can go for a slower move. I mean, obviously not against Clive because Clive is Clive. But for a lot of people, this isn't punishable as far as like sidestepping. She's just over there now. Like she's just gone. Either direction you sidewalk, she just launches herself over a safe distance. And the only safe thing to do, or like the only real thing to do, is to crouch the high follow-up. Actually, it's not a high. They're both mid-mid. What's the counterplay to this? What are we talking about here? What is going on? I guess it's negative. So it's punishable, that's the counterplay. So since it's negative 12, you do any move that gives you advantage and increases like your win condition. So you would want the Lilly, essentially, when they're picking options, instead of doing something like one, like you either 1-2's fine. You basically just want Lilly to press buttons here. Out of the options we've shown so far, out of like 1-2, 2-4, 2, 3-4, they've all basically been unsafe. So you're gonna want yeah, I wrote this down wrong. But like they're all unsafe to the point that you kind of can just sit still for the most part. And then let the Lilly self-destruct if she goes in the back turn and presses the wrong button at the wrong time. Because since they're all punishable on block, it's not really an issue. What else? We have back-facing 4, 3+4. This move is so fucking annoying. Oh, bruh. It's only annoying when you don't know what you're doing against Lilly, which most people don't at my ranks because, well, let's face it, who plays Lilly? So, let's say back turn 4, 3+4, right? It's only -10. It's 26 frame startup, but look how evasive this is. So like, it returns you to back turn, and sure you're -11 here, right? And let's say you do this enough times, and someone gets annoyed and they punch you. Next time you set this up, you can finish it. And you're still -10, you're punishable. But like, any sort of hesitation, any sort of mental frames of like, is it safe to punch now, means your moment to punch is over. So like, right, 31 damage, I'm in back turn at +4. And you gotta remember, 1-1 brings you into back turn at +4. That's the magic number again, right? So the frame traps are bounced around being +4 for the character. Meaning being that plus makes it advantageous, or there's like moments where they can't disrespect you. So have a situation like this, right? They disrespect during back turn. They keep disrespecting. I've done at least a good, let me see, practice settings. I'm gonna return his health back to 100% so I can just show that sequence again. Opponent health 100. Right. Oh, let's make him stop blocking. Alright. Let's say he doesn't respect, or he tries to disrespect, right? Do 1-1, and then 4, 3+1. Right? I got the heat engager, and then he disrespected, and then I did this, blah, blah, blah. Half his health off that string alone. And it seems like, okay, so what? There's so many points where someone could interrupt you. Every character can do that. Yes, but what I'm trying to get across is that if you don't know what you're doing against a character, you die, and no one knows the matchup for Lilly. At least not at the level that I'm at. No one knows it. So like you'll see this and like you'll think, is there something else? Right? She'll do stuff like this. And of course you've seen this and there's like a couple options from it. But for the most part, whenever I'm fighting her, if something's -10 or -11, you have to be ready to punish it immediately. But because of the stuff that like I've been caught in a situation where it's like, okay, oh, the move's over, but then she does an extension, and it's like, okay, when do I press? So essentially, what the game is telling you by the moves being -10, -11, is that they don't want you to launch her for doing these moves. They want you to jab her out of it. They want you to stop her from doing the move, and do your offense. This is 4, 3 plus 4. It's what? I-26, right? So we have back-facing opponent, 3 plus 4. I want to say I haven't been hit by this move with Lilly, but I have. Oh, actually, I did the wrong input. So let me just do the one I was talking about. That's probably next anyway. Yeah. So I did this move, which is back turn 3 plus 4, which is 29 frames. So you can see Lilly do this and block. Right, let's say you're in a neutral, right? She turns around and you're trying to think which one she's gonna do, and she jumps. That's enough time to go, oh, back. Which, if you're bad at fighting games or you have a hard time reacting to things, is hard. It's very hard. Like, I think with an average reaction, you can still see her hopping into the air. I think it's like slow enough for you to see that's happening and jab her out of it, maybe, or maybe armor through it. I think this is probably the point where I just bring out Lilly. So quick select.
Get ready for the next battle.
Yeah, okay. So, as far as like jabbing her out of it, you have to basically disrespect the position in the first place. What is it on block is the question. Let's make her block. So it's actually plus. And this is the main situation that I find myself in with Lilly, where they'll do this move And I've been hit with it enough times to realize that, like, it's most likely plus, and I can't disrespect it. And then Lilly just gets to like do whatever she wants, and I just have to wait for it to do something negative. But as you can see earlier, like, you can sidestep this move. You can sidewalk this left or right. This move reminds me a lot of like Yoshimitsu's up 3+4, because this like completely evades all lows. Like, her feet leave the ground. Alright. And of course, since it's why does the data change? So it's +2 from this distance. It's now +4. I don't get it. Is it because I was favoring the move? Or do I have to be like at range 0? Bro, that's +2 even though I'm at range 0. I think I was doing the move too fast. Oh no. Alright, back facing 1+2. 2 mids in a row. 13 frames. So far we haven't seen any lows. We haven't seen any lows so far. Alright, this might be it. So back turn, down 2. There we go. So we've gone through, I want to say, 3 highs. We've gone through like 2 or 3 lows. I mean 2 or 3 mids. Now it's time for the lows, right? The lows is going to reinforce the high, well, reinforce the mids, really. So, we gotta find lows that are good or at least interesting. Because if a low does no damage at all, you're negative on hits. Truthfully, it doesn't matter if that low hits you. Like, for example, Reina has a grab that swaps sides. And even that move is better than what I described, because swapping sides is good against people who like aren't that good at the game yet, right? So you can swap sides, and as long as you're good on both sides, it doesn't matter while it like messes with them. So anyone who's new, trying to get used to their character, essentially gets a major debuff. But any low that doesn't do any damage, also doesn't give any advantage, just isn't like worth it. While Reina has that grab that doesn't do any damage, but it at least does side swap, right? So in a scenario where a low is trash, you can almost certainly ignore it unless there's like a purpose behind it, like it's a counter hit tool, right? Like for this move, it does a decent amount of damage, right? It does 17. It also turns you back around to standing, and you're +5. +5, you know, you can do this launcher, even though it's -11 on block, right? That's just a jab string, which can be bad, but for the most part isn't, you know, too terrible in the beginning of the game. Like, if you're doing back turn, you do this, and you notice like they're jabbing immediately, wait a little bit. Next time you do this, just go for a launch, right? In fact, down 2 from back turn enters you into crouch. See, 11 frame while rising 4. Right. I should write this down. Yeah. We got back turn down to I-16. So for context, if 1-1 brings us into back turn at +4, this is essentially a 12 frame move, right? You can see that it high crushes, it's evasive. She's physically dipping down into a crouch. And if we key charge this, on counter hit, it's a knockdown for +14, right? So it ducks highs. It's a 14 frame. It's what? 16 frame move. So if the fastest they can respond is 12 frames. Is it 12? No, 14. Because let's say they're doing a 10 frame jab, you're +4. Fastest they can respond is 14. That means anything that's 15. So any 11 frame move because you're +4 isn't gonna cut it. So they can't use 11 frame moves. Right? Yeah, we're a 16 frame move +4. Oh, I'm doing the math wrong. I had to something fell off. So you're +4. That means fastest thing they can do is 14 frame jab. 14 frame. The fastest they can respond is 14 frames with their 10 frame jab. Right? That means any move you do that is, above 14 frames is going to get beat by a 10 frame jab, except a 10 frame jab is a high, an 11 frame jab is a high, a 12 frame jab is a high. 12 +4, 16, you'll trade. 11 +4, 15, you lose. 10 +4, 14, you lose because you're doing a 16 frame move. The difference is all of those fast options, right? All of those options that are meant to go, hey, stop doing your stance, or sure I got hit, but I'm going to disrespect anyway on the chance you do a very slow move. They're, again, highs, which is where I got the number 12 from, because since your 10 frame, 11 frame jabs aren't going to work, right? And 12 would trade, but we're just gonna ignore 12 frame jabs because it's still a high. Since you can't use 11 and 10 frame jabs because they're highs, you have to use mids. I mean, you'd have to use your fastest mid. For Yoshimitsu, that's 12 frames, which is down forward 4, which is universally a leg move, right? It's the right leg move. It's meant to be a fast mid poke to stop anyone from ducking and trying to launch you. So if you're doing a bunch of jab work, right? You can do jab, jab, down forward 4, or down forward 1. And these two are 13 frame moves. They're fast 13 frame moves that are normally safe on block that you can use to poke. They don't do that much damage, right? But right, there is a follow-up for Lilly. See, that's a decent amount of damage, right? So you can use it as a very easy are you ducking button in order to stop them from doing it, obviously. But in a more important case, you can use it as, I know you're setting up a frame trap, or I know I'm setting up a frame trap where I force you into crouch, or I just give myself plus frames. For example, when I do this, let's say it turned me to front instead of having me in back turn. You can do down forward 4 13 frames, you're plus 2, right? Basically feels like an 11 frame move. It would be basically an 11 frame jab to stop people from ducking. Because what ends up happening is that when someone has advantage, they'll go for their fastest string to frame trap. Normally, right? For example, Yoshimitsu, while rising 1-1-1-1, forces them into crouch, and they're thinking, okay, I'm already in crouch, I'll just stay and dick jab, right? And that will beat whatever you're doing, because if you're doing a jab, you're gonna go over their heads and they can stop you and they get their advantage, blah blah blah. Specifically with Yoshimitsu, it's a problem because when you do the whole while rising 1-1-1-1, it doesn't leave you any advantage on the final hits that forces them into crouch, on top of the fact that, for one, those are all highs, so it can be ducked and launched. So anyone who's good at the game is going to punish you for using that. Because it's basically everything Yoshimitsu has is committal. He doesn't get things for free. He has no poking. Meaning, if you catch what he's doing, he dies. I'm going to say it one more time. If you catch on to what he's doing, he dies. If he goes into Dragonfly stance too often, you can predict it, he dies. Goes into Flee too often, he dies. So as a Yoshimitsu, like, it isn't as bad as like some people where everything they do is super, super negative. But since he has so much stuff that puts him into airborne and no poking at all, he has to rely on like the stance work on top of his unblockable tools, which even then leave him in a vulnerable situation in the first place. Like, don't get me wrong, his tools are great, but if he gets too predictable, he essentially dies. Unblockable low is just a free launcher if you like know he's going to do it. Alright? Which it's hard to like sell how difficult that like, or how committal it is with Yoshimitsu when saying that, because like he doesn't have any good lows. And you could be like, oh, there's the unblockable low, like you just mentioned. That's 1, very slow, 2, very obvious, and 3, like, to do so, you're opening yourself up consistently to like hop kicks. And if someone wants to stop you from doing it a bunch, they'll just hop kick you as the option for when, you know, you're coming in to push them. Which I guess you can say for most people, but for Yoshi is particularly like bad. So you have to play like this slow, like analyzing game to understand them. Or some Yoshi players go unga bunga, throw stuff because apparently not many people know the matchup. But for the most part, there are situations where Yoshimitsu does indeed suffer because he can't particularly do things that other characters can, which is understandable, which is reasonable, and I respect that. You don't want perfect characters in the game. You want strong characters who have good tools, but you don't want characters whose, like, if your character's issue is, okay, I just gotta, like, figure out this guy's timing, and then he, like, you know, it's over. Instead of, like, hey, I don't have the best this, so I need to, like, compensate, right? For example, a common complaint, I shouldn't say complaint, a common weakness that you can say for Yoshimitsu is not good poking. Yoshi has no good poking. All he has is down forward 1, which he has a follow-up string with, but really, why would you use that? There's like down forward 1-4, which is 2 mids, pretty decent damage, right? You can use those to like get some nice hits in, right? But if those aren't working, he has no lows to make you duck. He would have to put his sword away, and then he has to go into full crouch state to make that work anyway. So he would have to, like, the thing is, there's ways around what I'm saying on Yoshimitsu because you can't really pressure him. You can't pressure Yoshimitsu because he's like a gimmick character and like he has flash and he has like all evasive moves. So it's hard to, like, I guess the better example would be Brian. Brian has tons of strings that counter hit launch, but like poking, is that really his thing? And like on top of that, like he has a hatchet kick, he has a hell sweep, but like anything else as far as lows, like don't get me wrong, those moves are good, but I can't think. And I laughed Brian. I can't think of any other lows that particularly pop into my memory. Everything is mid, mid, mid. So the only reasons that you have a hatchet kick and you have a hell sweep is because of the fact you want them duck. But if they block any of those lows, you die. So you don't have any safe lows to like really use that progress the game state. Right? So poking is an issue. He also doesn't have any like good panic buttons. Like for example, Jins have all sorts of like evasive bullshit like down to, right? You have Sensata. There's like tons of things that can be used by other characters as like a panic. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm gonna use this, and it has a high coverage % chance of working. While that's not really the case for like at least Brian's. Or I could be wrong because I labbed them one time, barely thought about it. But for what I remember, there's no like moves that make me go, yeah, I can just use this all the time and I'll be straight. And it's like the same thing for like Paul, where his lows aren't particularly good. And I can only think of like 3 lows off the top of my head. Demolition Man. There's a low that gives him plus frames for like a frame trap. It doesn't knock down, it's just like a simple hit. Which that one's good. He also has his heat smash if you count that as a low, but at the same time, like I'm talking about like core lows you can do consistently all the time. Even though I guess you can access your heat smash, it's just not. You can access your heat smash low relatively easily if we're talking about like being literally easy. But during the course of it, like during the middle of a match, it may not be optimal to like burst your heat just so you can do a low heat smash. You get my point? So like lows is definitely an issue for Paul. Poking is an issue for Paul. Paul desperately wants you to duck so he can murder you, while like everything in your body is like telling you, no, I don't want to duck, I don't want to duck, I don't want to duck. And I guess a great example of a character who doesn't have any of those flaws, where it isn't a situation of like, okay, here's my character, this is my character's personality, this is the way he plays, let me cover for his weaknesses the best I can with my skill. Like if you're playing a zoner, you're basically compensating for the fact that, hey, my character's buttons are not that good up close, right? For example, Scarlet from MK11. Up close, all her shit was negative and punishable, right? All her special moves. But at range, she's able to like hurt you from ranges other people can't. Like she's a good zoner. She like if you're at far range, you're not out zoning her. And if you're gonna try to zone her back, she can teleport in, grab, do things, reset the distance, and do it over and over and over again if the player is doing a good enough job, right? So she really has tons of tools to zone you out at any distance, except when you're right in front of her. When you're right in front of her, she has a blood parry that she can do, which I love. But other than that, like her general tools up close are not it. They're very lacking. They're very slow. They're very interruptible. Like you can lose, and that's with like me having a small amount of understanding of fighting games at the time when I looked at her character and like looked at the fact that she's just not good up close, which makes sense, right? And it's my fault because I have this weird thing about me where if I see a zoner character, I'm going to want to play them up close. And it sounds stupid because to like the common mind it is, but my idea is that like, for example, if you have a healer in an RPG, who can heal himself from 30% to 70%, why is he not training to be a fighter? If you can heal yourself mid-fight, almost to full, why wouldn't you do that? Like, to have someone who can be in a fight, regenerate themselves, and then go back into the fight continuously is such a strong combo. But the thing is, the two groups are, like, generically to the common mind separate. You think healers in the back class, they heal everybody, they keep everybody up, they're usually squishy. Which doesn't make sense to me, because if you have the ability to make people whole again and heal wounds that would be normally fatal, doesn't that mean you can do that for yourself? And if so, if that's the thing that makes the tank, like, keep going, if that's the thing that makes, like, the guy in the front, the fighter, so dangerous because he has someone constantly healing them, why wouldn't the healer just become a fighter himself? It's the same thing with, like, archery, which is the whole point about zoning. If someone is a sniper, their most immediate thought pattern is, okay, what's their weakness? They're going to be weak up close. Let me push in. That way, like, it's harder for them to use their sniper. But what happens when you get up close, they start smiling and pull out two blades? Because they've really just been baiting you to get close. And now that you're close up and they're a speed demon and you get blitzed, that's the way that I think about things, in a sense of, like, setting up traps for your opponent, or, like, compensating for your weak points. But, like, I enjoy playing zoners up close, and then whenever I need to, I can abuse the person at range for running away. And when they try to get in because, like, oh, I have to push the zoner if I want to, like, have any advantage, now we're still at the same point I would have been if I played any other character, where we're going to brawl. You can't run, you have to face me. That's the idea. That's the way. You compensate for the person's weakness, and that's just the way my personality works, right? In Monster Hunter, I played bows and dual blades. So, like, having a zoner who has, like, fast-paced, up-close fighting skill, even if it isn't the best, even if there's holes in it, I really do appreciate. A person I don't think has any holes is Dragunov. And I said this the second I got onto this game. I just never posted the video. I think Dragunov is the most boring, cliche character possible. He's akin mentally to me. Like, I know Jin is supposed to be like the Ken and Ryu of this game. Like, they're supposed to be like the very simple, generic, just has good tools type of character, right? If that's the case, then Dragunov for this game has to be our Akuma. It just has to be. And I know I've been sitting here talking about the character, so I'll get done in a moment. But, like, Dragunov has to be our Akuma because of the fact that when he dropped, right, he dropped like a final boss. Like, last game, earlier, like, in Tekken 7 earlier, he was really good, then he got, like, heavily nerfed, right? This game, he drops in with a very, very overtuned, like, so overtuned that it, like, genuinely, like, when you stop and think about it, it's like, why would they even consider making this possible? Why would they ever think about that? Because, for one, if we're only talking about sneak forward, which, by the way, is only quarter circle forward, like, 4, which is not a hard input to do. On block, because we have to preface this, on block was +7. So, essentially, from standing, not a stance, you have access to +7 on block. Meaning you can use the move safely and set up your frame traps for free. So you have frame traps that don't enter you into stance. So you have a frame trap that doesn't enter you into stance, so you can back up. So, like, even if you didn't want to do anything, you could immediately go from sneak forward into sneak forward because you're +7. You could sneak forward into sneak forward. You're not processing the shit I'm saying to you. You could sneak forward into another sneak forward, which guaranteed another sneak 4, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop you. You want to know why? Because you aren't able to sidestep at -5. Well, you can, but you're risking your life. So with that in mind, most people aren't going to try to sidestep at -7. So you're essentially in a deadlock position where you're both looking at each other and you're just blocking. On top of that, it had mad reach, meaning he could be from a safe distance and threaten you with sneak forward because it's quarter circle forward, meaning any movement that's quarter circle forward, when you do down, causes you to crouch for like the tiniest amount of time. Down forward moves you forward, right? It like the small movement does take a step for you, and then forward causes the input to come out, right? So quarter circle, I'm moving forward because the game is reading your inputs, and then the move comes out, it hits them, right? On top of that, it forces crouch. So when I was explaining, at least I think it forces crouch. I'm gonna say maybe it doesn't, but I think it forces crouch. I think it forces crouch. So your +7 were turned back to standing, where the rest of your move list is, by the way. So you can access everything basically. So your +7 back to standing. They're forced crouch if my memory is correct. So they only have access to like 5, maybe 6 moves. They can't sidestep because, one, they're crouched. It wall splatted, meaning, let's say for a split second, you're facing a confident Dragunov who's going to like do sneak 4 into a low that gives him advantage so we can do sneak 4 again. And you're calling out the low. If you're wrong, you die. Because you get wall splatted, and he does so much fucking damage for no reason that you don't get any, like, it just doesn't matter. You get wall splatted, and he's doing boss combos on you. He's doing boss combos. Like, I fought a Dragunov the other day who was doing numbers. Legitimately, like, heavy numbers on me. Like, 80, 90 damage off wall. What the fuck? And he's been nerfed. So he was doing even more damage before. Even more damage. So it was a wall splatting mid, right? Wall splatting mid with far range, +7 on block, so there was no punishing it and no sidestepping because it forced crouch. It was also a heat engager. I'm gonna say that one more time. It was also a heat engager, meaning in this scenario, he could sneak 4, hit you with it, right? You try to press buttons afterwards because for some fucking reason you're stupid. He could hit you, knock you down, hit you with the low, do sneak 4 to heat engager. Any amount of health that he lost, that's gray, he gets back, right? Because remember, this chip. So he's been gaining health from doing sneak 4 over and over. He gets a bunch of his health back because of the heat engager. You're being pushed back towards the wall steadily. And let's say you're at the wall now because of this. If you press the wrong button, if you press any button, your wall splatted. If you duck, your wall splatted, so you stand. He starts hatchet kicking you. Then jab checking, just in case you get any ideas of stopping him. Then hatchet kicks you again, and you're like, I have to block one of these. You try to block, and then he wall splats you. Gets a monster combo on top of you, right? And guess what? Guess what? It hits grounded. Since it hits grounded, I think it still does now. I can't remember. It's heat engagers that hit ground, hits people who are grounded, allows you, when they're getting up, if they get up incorrectly or they try to do a get up kick, you can do the move and do a heat dash and get a combo. You you can get a combo because someone decided they wanted to do a get up kick, and you did sneak 4 for the 1000th time during that match on top of them. So you could sneak 4, hatchet kick, sneak 4. They decide to press and they get caught by it. Wall splat, major combo. You can sneak 4 them on the ground because they didn't want to get up because they're scared, and this game's bullshit. They get up incorrectly, which admittedly, situations where you have to get up a certain way against a move are fine because you can beat them by just doing the other like ways of getting up. It's fine. And if if he sees or if he just predicts you getting up slowly, right? Because if you get up fast, it doesn't matter. You're back to the situation you were before, being sneak forward at the wall. But if you're getting up with the slow one, or you're doing like any sort of like get up kick, he catches you, and if he was doing 80 to 90 damage, which is half your health by the way, with let's say being nice back then, he hit you with 80 to 90 damage combo at the wall, and then he catches you again with that same combo. I mean with the heat dash. Scaling happens pretty like heavily, I heard, on like heat dash combos. So we'll say you get hit with like a 70 damage move. You've eaten 150 damage out of your 180 damage, basically for nothing. And like there's tons of characters that if they hit you with the right like flow state and you guess wrong, you die. This wasn't a situation where you guessed wrong. Sneak 4 basically put you in a box where you couldn't really fight back efficiently, or if there was counterplay with like side steps and stuff like that, you couldn't do that either because it was tracking. So let's count off all the properties Sneak 4 had. It was a heat engager, that's very important. It was a mid, so no ducking. It was +7 on block, so no punishment. It's +7, and I think it forced you into crouch, so no sidestepping. It hit grounded, so you can't just stay on the ground either, right? And if you get up incorrectly, then he uses the heat dash to like kill you. It also wall splatted, meaning at the wall, on top of being forced into a reduced move set with a move that frame traps you, right? If you make a mistake, you just get wall splatted, and you think, okay, it doesn't matter if he gets wall splatted because Dragunov has okay damage in this game. No, he has amazing damage, and to complement that, his hatchet kick is like 20 something damage on hit, and I think there's a counter hit effect too. So like, when I say that like Dragunov legitimately is the Akuma of this game, where he's just a boss character, I meant that shit. It's not a situation where you can respect the character. Any clip of a Dragunov losing during the early game of Tekken 8, you get to talk shit to them. I don't care. I'll say it, bro. If you've seen a Dragunov playing the game, and I'm not talking about like pro players, because pro players, like, they understand game in and out, and even it was degenerate then, they understood like ways of like fighting back that like we really couldn't. If you were playing Dragunov when the game dropped in the early parts, and you went into ranked, and you like already shot on that guy, like, you know, I really like put him in his place, I want you to know you're scum, and your character selection makes you a bad person. Obviously, I'm joking. I'm like 50% joking, alright? I'm like 75% joking. But like, seriously, if you lost matches while playing Dragunov when he first dropped, when he was literally legitimately not okay. Like when people say like Yoshi's broken, they're being like over exaggerative. Sure, he may be too strong. Okay, I'll give him that. The damage is too high. I can accept that. I can accept that they're not okay with eating combos for like 80 to like 80 damage if you get the right combo at the wall. I get that. Understood. I understand that many people have issues with high damage, especially with like gimmick characters. Understood. At least with Yoshimitsu, and I'm not downplaying. At least with Yoshimitsu, the shit he does is committal. If he does something, he's doing it. He has no choice. If he doesn't do it properly, or if he doesn't go the whole way through, there's no faking, there's no feinting, right? There's tons of tricks that you have to specialize in, right? To like become good with Yoshi. You have to put time in to become good with Yoshi. So you're not gonna see 1,000 of them. You're not gonna see 1,000,000 Yoshis. You're not gonna see so many Yoshis out there where it's like, oh, anyone could play him. Like, you have to spend time and truly understand the character. You have to understand transitions. You have to understand like the swaps. There's situations I find myself in now, even though I'm not that good of a player, where I can go, okay, I need to be more prepared for this scenario to pop up, because it's something that like it happens, but I'm just not comfortable yet. I'm just not like in the right mental, like I'm not locked in enough on the character because it's a learning progress. I could pick up Dragunov tomorrow. No, seriously, I could pick Dragunov up tomorrow and do better than I am doing with Yoshi now. He's just that corny of a character. He is just that bullshit. Dragunov is so bland personality-wise, and I said this in the beginning of the game. He's so bland the way he looks. He's so bland in the way he fights. He's so bland in everything about him, right? And people will be like, "Oh yeah, I heard a guy say I like Dragunov because of the fact that like what? Oh, he said because he's the only fighter that's realistic in this game. Everybody else is doing like types of like flips and tricks and shit, right?" And talking about how everyone else is like anime as fuck. I get that for Lars and Clive and like Alyssa. But like there's genuine fighters like Harang, Taekwondo, like Steve, a boxer. But hey, they aren't his like his speed. Brian, sure, he like when I hear that like fighting style, I can understand that because I'm not gonna want to ever play like Eddie. I get that. You know what I mean? Like I'm never gonna want to like try to play Eddie Gordo or learn his moves. But like if you're playing Dragunov, you're either an edgelord or you're a tier whore, and that is meant with full disrespect. Like no one. Here's the thing. When people be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna play Yoshi," you can call them like, "Oh, you just don't want to have to learn defense." You can say that. You can say that because that's legitimately what like some people think. Some people get Yoshi and they're like, "I'm just gonna spam Flash," right? But like anyone who legitimately wanted to play Yoshi because they liked him is essentially getting their name ruined by like all the like Unga Bunga or Yoshis out there who are like spamming like basic options. And the thing is, even in that scenario where like, oh, they're spamming basic options, it's not like you can't fight back with Yoshi. Even the tech trap situation, I feel like the easiest way to fix the tech trap for everyone's guard break is just to make them highs or make them not hit grounded. Because if it hits grounded, what's the fucking point? Like you can just make it not hit grounded. Simple. Right? But in those situations when he's winding up the tech trap and assuming Yoshi's not doing a setup for the tech trap, right? And he's just winding it up, you can sidestep. And if you can't react to it, right, fine, I get that. Just look out for it next time. You know what I mean? And someone's like, oh, you can say the same thing about Dragunov. No, you can't. Because there's no looking out for the move. You know it's coming, you just can't stop it. Like, everything that Yoshi has legitimate direct counterplay. And you'd be like, bad breath, duck, unblockable low, hop kick, What about, I don't know, low sweep? You can, because he's like, oh, he's crouching. Is he gonna do the unblockable low? Is his sword out? Because he can't do the unblockable low and like the leg sweep at the same time. Those aren't options. Those aren't. Sure, like I agree that something could be tuned down for Yoshi, and I actually will agree that unblockable low probably needs to be slower so people can like get through their heads like, hey, hop kick this. But until I get to higher ranks, I can't say anything definitively except the fact that anyone who played Dragonov was corny. And I don't mean like, oh, for the first 2 weeks or a month to fill the character out. But like, hey, this character's kind of cool. I heard they like, because Dragonov was a favorite in the past games, right? Or at least people liked him. So I understand. Right? And the reason I brought up the whole like Yoshi fan base thing and people who really wanted to play Yoshi specifically is because I know there's Dragonov fans who went out there to play Dragonov, and then because the character is so degenerate, they just they get a bad name. Like, think about that, bruh. Think about all the Dragonov players who were excited to play Tekken 8, and then they started playing, and then they see Discourse online, and it's just like, yeah, bro, your character is not fun to play against. Your character is a fucking monster. Your character is legitimately, like, not good for the game. Your character makes everyone else around you uncomfortable. And again, I'm a Yoshi player. I'm used to, like, I'm already used to people be like, yeah, Yoshi is despicable, burn all Yoshis at the stake. And obviously it isn't that serious, but like the sentiment generally is like, hey, if you're playing against a Yoshi, you're not having a fun time. And as a Yoshi player, I only have fun times against Yoshis. And it feels like other people who say they don't enjoy fighting Yoshis are either taking the game too serious or too not labbing Yoshi. But to be fair, I haven't reached the highest ranks, so I can't say. Because here's the thing. I do a thing at my ranks that should be punished 100% of the time. Alright? Dragonfly 2-4 should be punished by any 14 frame or 13 frame heat engager every time. Right? Fucking Wild Rising 1+4 should be punished every time. But they don't. So anyone at my ranks who say, oh, I can't fight against Yoshi, he's overpowered, I'm just gonna like ignore them because they fucking suck. They're terrible at the game. So their opinion is invalid. Which sounds like a harsh thing to say, but when you're not punishing a move that literally is launch punishable, like if you like, here's the deal. My goal is to be unpredictable, but I'm bad at that. So I do have common patterns. Meaning, if you fight me, you can beat me if you pay attention. Meaning, all these people who I'm facing, right, if they say they hate Yoshi, right, for example, I kept getting beat up by Kazuya. I immediately, like, started doing the, like, punishment training for Kazuya. Alright? I hated Paul. I labbed Paul. Now I have respect for Paul. If people just lab the character, I think they would have less hatred for Yoshi. Right? Simple. And it's the same thing for Dragonov. Where if I lab Dragonov, I'd probably come out of it with, I don't want to say, obviously it would be less hate, but I would still disapprove of the character just from like what the character is for what it is sort of situation. Because all of Dragonov's tools are almost like borderline the opposite of Yoshi. Where like Yoshi is like eccentric, flamboyant, extravagant, flashy moves that like are eye-catching and they're very distinct. Meaning if you see someone do 3-1, you know they're going into Dragonfly, right? You know it's a forced stance because you see Yoshis do it all the time. Right? It's burned into your memory. It's so distinctive. There's no questioning that first kick is going to be followed by a high you can duck. You would have to lab Dragonov, look at all his moves, write them down, and then go fight someone who plays Dragonov to learn Dragonov. And I know it's the same for Yoshi and all other characters, but what I'm saying is like you would have to do it like hard, like you would have to focus on it. Because to beat Dragonov's moves, you have to duck. Meaning, not only did they give a character who is not hard to play at all, amazing tools, amazing kits, amazing everything, even good pokes with the hatchet kick, right? Gave him all of the good stuff, all the good frame data. They also made it that to defend yourself against him was not brain dead. You couldn't just hold back. You couldn't just duck. Because here's the thing. Even the way you're supposed to beat him, right, is he has a bunch of moves that are duckable because a bunch of his moves track side to side for some reason. Right? He has a bunch of tracking moves, not homing, tracking moves. Moves that just hit towards one side or the other. He has a bunch of those. So you have to duck and launch him for it, right? Or duck and jab, right? But that's extremely hard to do because the highs are either at the beginning or they're in the middle of a combo. And if it ends in a high, sure, that's a very easy one. Anyone who's good at the game could duck that, blah, blah, blah. But if you mess up your ducking pattern on any of the moves that were the highs in the middle, you're going to get fucked up by one of the highest damaging characters in the game. Like seriously, you're going to get fucked up by one of the highest damaging characters in the entire game, if not the most damaging character. And on top of that, he has the ability to go, you know what, I'm not going to finish my string because I know you're going to launch me for it at this point. But guess what? I get to grab you while you're crouched. I get to break one of the most basic fundamental rules of grabs and grab you, which is whatever. Everyone breaks rules in some way or some form. Lily sidesteps are fucking ridiculous. Yoshi has flash, right? Dragunov gets to grab you while crouched. Dragunov and King gets to grab you while crouched. But when Dragunov is in heat, you can't break those. Actually, no, that's different. The grabs themselves are just grabs. He's just grabbing. Like he can grab you while you're crouched. He can do moves and cancel. Like he can do a thing called a feint where he cancels the move and it fakes the animation out just to go into a grab. So you could be ready to defend against the move, which has a string defense to like duck or blah blah blah, and he can stop and just grab you. He can essentially force you to duck via like some other moves, right? And then once you're smart enough to realize, hey, I can duck here, or I don't have to just sit here and block, I can do something, he can immediately go, no, you can't. He has a tackle that is breakable with 1+2, but when he's in heat, it's not breakable. And you have to take a mix-up. Because he has a 3-way mix-up between 1, 2, and 1+2. Or at least, I haven't labbed the character enough. Because when I first got this game, I looked at his moveset when all of this looks the exact same. It's pretty boring, and I know the only reason he's played is because he has good frame data. Because none of the moves weren't flashy, the moves weren't good looking. They were just very simple. They were they were surgically precise, as if someone who trained their entire lives to be a killer. Got it.
Hello?
What's up?
God damn, why you phone, bro?
You said what? Oh, you
Such a my.
called me. What's going on? Are you at home?
Yeah, I'm in the house, bro.
All right, just give me a second, and then I'll hit you up when I'm ready.
Uh, hit the Discord.
All right, I will. Like, what was I saying? The point is, Dragunov is bullshit, man. If you want to hate on a character, don't hate on Yoshi. Hell, don't even hate on Nina. Sure, she can be annoying, but just thank God Dragunov was nerfed 3 times. Thank God Alyssa was nerfed 3 times. And I'm saying this as someone who thinks Yoshi does probably need to be tuned down just for the sake of other players' mental states, so they don't like cry anymore about it, right? Because most of the people who are bitching about how strong Yoshi is are not at a level where Yoshi actually starts to like really fuck you. Like they're at a point where like Yoshi still are gonna do stupid shit. The second a good Yoshi appears, it's kind of like you're kind of fucked. I'm not gonna lie, you're kind of fucked because you have to know the matchup and the tricks, and that's just not. It's the same thing with like a good Zayu, right? A good thing with a very like same thing with a good Zafina. Very unpopular characters where you have to know the matchup. Well, I guess that's like everyone you have to know the matchup, but specifically like those characters where it's like, what do they even have here? Why do they have this here? Or blah blah blah. Like Yoshi had Spirited Away in Tekken 7, so anyone who bitches about that is like being ridiculous, right? And if they're being like, oh, with the kid he has now, Spirited Away is unfair. It's like, how could you complain about being mixed up by like Dragonfly? I don't know. I don't know. Just know the people that are on my hit list for I'm glad that they got nerfed are not Nina because I don't know what Nina has. I just know that she has like good tools and she has like interesting mechanics. Like she has the power crush from Crouch, which I think is cool. And I wouldn't want characters like Nina to like hit rock bottom ever, just because people find her annoying, specifically because of the reason that like if we start nerfing everyone that we think is how can I put it? If we start nerfing everyone we find annoying and like nerf everyone that like gives us a hard time, because we both damn well know there's been matches where Yoshi's just no diff you because you're impatient or you do the exact same attack timing and he slips in a flash and reverses you like he just gets the dub, or like since you decided hey I'm gonna keep spamming he flashes you, gets a combo, and because of that combo doing like however so many hits with like a buff sword, he gets a lot of his health back because he steals like your health from you, right? Which keep in mind, Hayachi can do that. Good Bryans during their combo can do that. Up to 50%, right? Like just a little bit under 50%, they can regen back while in heat with a good combo. So like, think about it this way. I find a Brian so fucking annoying. I'm never gonna ask for him to be nerfed. I find Alyssa to be so fucking annoying. She's already been nerfed. I would have never asked for her to be nerfed. I find the bears annoying. I would never ask for them to be nerfed. I find Dragonov annoying. I definitely would have understood a nerf, but I would have never asked for one. I'd have been like, you know what, this is fucking stupid, it should be nerfed, but I would never go out of my way to get it nerfed. In fact, I feel like the biggest reason Dragonov needed to be nerfed is because during the tournament scene, literally 90% of the pro players, I shouldn't say 90, because he wasn't on Leroy status, I don't think. Uh, but 60 to like 70% of the pro players were on Leroy. I mean, on Leroy, my bad. They were on, not Akuma, Dragonov. They were on Dragonov. That's it. They were just playing him because he was just overtuned. And the second he got nerfed, like the first time, people kept saying like people said we're gonna drop him because he's overpowered. I mean, they nerfed him. He's trash now. And then they were just like, oh, they didn't even admit they were wrong. People just kept playing him and like showing how he was still dominant, and pro players just kept playing him. And then he got nerfed again, and then like people came back to him, and then he got nerfed again. And I think he's been nerfed 3 maybe 4 times now. 3 maybe 4, and I think now is a good point to stop because I don't want to see a strong character get moved to a tier below because of the fact of like complaints. Like you tune down some of the dumb stuff. You remove the fact that I was about to say quarter circle four. I don't know. I just sneak four would be easy to say. That sneak four wall splats. That's fine. You should remove some of its tracking so it's sidesteppable. Like sneak four shouldn't track. You can't hit grounded. You can't be a heat engager. You can't like be a mid, right? You can't be +7 on block and also track. You can't. You can't. It's just it should have never tracked side to side. It should have never. It should have never. He literally has his leg in the fucking air. He should have never ever course corrected to be on target. That's fucking stupid. He should have never had that whatsoever. My goat Yoshimitsu has terrible tracking. He's so linear, and I love it that way. The way Yoshi is now, if they wanted to keep it this way to the end of the game, I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't want any additions. I don't care about new moves. I think the way Yoshi is now is perfect. Except I'm not gonna lie. The Wild Rising combo doing 90 to 100 damage if you do it right is fucking despicable. Listen, I love Yoshi. I love Yoshi. I'm not gonna lie. He's the sole reason I bought this game. And when I say the sole reason, I mean the sole reason. As in, like, if they removed Yoshi tomorrow, I quit the game. And I mean that shit. I mean, like, if they effectively get rid of all Yoshi's moves, if they make it that Yoshi doesn't have the same toolkit that he normally does, if they make it that a bunch of his moves don't counter hit launch anymore, and like he just has to like nickel and dime for the dub, like he has to like very very slowly grind out the win. I would still play for a couple of bit, but like if they legitimately like made him a dumpster fire because having having to outplay your opponent isn't the problem. The problem is when they take a character that legitimately was just strong and everyone else is like who literally never had to learn the matchup because they could just hit you with like two combos and you die while you had to like completely win multiple upon interaction after interaction after interaction just to win. If they take a character and make it where effectively he's one of the like worst characters in the game, and I don't mean worst because I actually hate the concept of worst and best, right? I prefer like sort of like power level. I think tier list shouldn't be about who's better than who. Tier list should be this person is in this place, like a good place. So like S tier is like very good, like very good, right? A tier is like they're good, right? They don't really like you can play them. There's gonna be like these sort of like holes here, right? Or I guess like it'd be like they're good. There's not many really holes, and those holes really are like system mechanics that are just built in. B is like these characters are good, but they kind of suffer in like this little area, or like they have this little bit of an issue. C is like the issue is actually very like bigger now, where you actually do have to compensate. D is like you're heavily compensating for the character's issues, and you're basically building your gameplay around only a couple of moves, um, and it doesn't really like work. I like it's doable. You can build your gameplay style around those couple of moves and D tier, but like the rest of the kit severely suffers, and like there's a very big hole that your opponent can exploit to like beat you. And then there's F tier because we're past E, right? E and F are the same thing. F tier is this character needs to be emergency patched to be better. Like they're just that bad. Like they're so terrible that like for example, it would be like having a down forward 2 that doesn't launch, which is hard to describe like what I'm talking about because down forward 2 universally for everyone is like a 15 frame launcher from standing. Right? It's just a regular launcher. Mostly everyone has it, right? It'd be like if their down forward 2 didn't launch but only launched on counter hit. So they had to counter hit in order to like get a combo. Like they couldn't punish rage arts. They had no like I-15 launcher, right? All their stuff was safe on unsafe on block. But the devs did this because they had like a crazy move. Like imagine they had like a 10 frame unblockable that led to a full combo, but their damage is trash too. Don't get me wrong, you'll see people like imagine if like you had a 10 frame unblockable where you got a full combo from, but your damage was so abysmal that no one ever played you. I mean your damage was so abysmal that like you had to win interaction after interaction after interaction. Like imagine if that amount of damage is what the unblockable did, right? It just did like 5 damage, but it was a full launcher. And if it was out of a stance, that would make it like even more fair. And since like the damage is so low, there's not really like, you know what I mean, who's gonna like they're gonna bitch about it because like, oh, this stupid ass unblockable, what this fucking trash can of a character. This is just so annoying. So like he can never be buffed because of that move being there. Like his damage has to stay low then in that instance. And I guess that's the same argument they have for Yoshimitsu to have like an unblockable like that. So you have to react to this with a crouch. But like I'm thinking of something more aggressive where like let's say it'd be like down forward 1 is, 10 or 11 frame unblockable that hits like mid. Or they can even make it high. So like a high unblockable that's super fast, low damage, and the max your damage combos be 30. So like 180 divided by 30. Oh bro, I feel like the answer should be easy. It's okay, times 30 by 2 is 6 times by 3. So it would be like you'd have to combo them 6 times. So yeah, I think that'd be fair. I think can we get that as a character? Can we get a character who has like an unblockable that's like super fast? Or like make it like a 15 frame unblockable? Something like 15, 14. Not, it has to be 15 because it's a combo starter. But his damage is still terrible. Oh no. Either way, I'm gonna get off and continue this like back turn thing later. I got distracted ranting about this game. Before I go, things I want to see. I want to see, I want to see all like the D tiers get improvements, but not damage improvements. If that makes sense. Like, since I'm gonna go anyway, I might as well just quick select. Like, I want to see Raven get buffs. I want to see Asuka get buffs. I want to see, like, I see Asuka like from time to time, but I don't see her enough to like really, you know what I mean? Like, people play Asuka, but I want her to see buffs. Leroy needs help. The fact that Leroy is as weak as he is, but hold on, quick moment. I'm gonna show you the thing I was talking about earlier, the combo. The reason this does way too much damage. All right, you can do this, right? And obviously these are both very committal, obvious animations, 35 frames. People can react to this very easily, and then I think practice. We'll have him crouch block for now. It's launch punishable, right? Stand block. And I do apologize for saying this is a Lilly stream and then talking about everything except Lilly. I just do find her. She's okay. She's annoying, but she's okay. So anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. Okay. So this here, right? It's very committal. It's very like, what's the word for it? Yeah, it's just committal. Like you can react to it, and then you get a launcher for it, right? If I were to do like, right, I'm trying to find a low that's not through stance and that's not committal. Maybe Monty spin kicks. Fuck it. So let's say you do Monty spin kicks enough times to convince them to fucking duck, like you do Monty spin kicks, they start reacting to it. So instead of doing the full thing, you do 2. No, that's not the right combo. So Monty spin kicks. We're at 70, right? And then if we get to the wall, we get at least to 90. And then with a heat dash, we have rage. So if I, let me see, rage. No, I messed it up. How am I messing this up? This is actually bad. So that's 90 damage with the heat dash, right? If you do it with no, how am I messing this up? Alright. If you do it with Rage Art, it's like 103 or 101 damage. So, like, obviously, the only way you're getting this specific combo to do that much damage, right? So, of that someone's health bar, is 1, be below 30% health, have Rage. 2, make them duck while you're, like, in a crouch state, which isn't particularly hard. Or, like, for example, you could do this, which forces you into crouch, like, it puts you in crouch state. And you're at +6, so you're like Raw Rising 2, which is 15 frames, is essentially a frame trap, and if you press, they get hit with that, right? So you can annoy them with this move, right? Or you can annoy them with this move, which enters crouch, that allows you to do that. All that gives you like access to the same Raw Rising 2 as a frame trap, or this one here, the up 2 version, makes the 15 move a frame trap entirely. They can't respond. Alright. But the Kencho down one, alright, that is a frame trap for, I want to say, like, only a couple of moves. So, like, they would have to, it's a frame trap for a lot of, like, slower moves, like anything past 13. But if they try to do highs, any, like, generically fast highs, they're going to get caught by it. Alright? They would have to go for all their fast mids in this instance. But even then, you could just continue with a Raw Rising, because they're technically forced croucher, I think. Like, they would have to respond with the crouch move when we do this. Hold on. Display opponent attack information, or opponent detail. No, they actually aren't standing. I mean, they actually aren't forced into crouch here, so... Wait, no, not the one. So, those don't force them into crouch, but since they got hit with something, mental frames, right? They would have to know the matchup entirely, and if they know the matchup, they're not going to press. Or, like, if they're impatient and they're like, okay, he's not doing the thing, you can condition them into they're going to want to press, and then you go for the combo. But the thing I was talking about specifically is for players in lower end lobbies, they don't have the experience to go, okay, I need to do something here. Or they kind of get shell shocked. They get like locked into place. They get like frozen. So you can basically do something like this. Obviously not with this move, because if they decide to block low for the second time, or they have the right reactions and they launch you, blah blah blah, like, since it's so committal and you are airborne, you will die if they're prepared for it. But from here, if they duck to try to stop the third one from coming, you get the sequence as usual, the sequence from before, right, from full health, and they essentially pretty much die. And like, let's say you're weak and you're like, this is your last ditch effort. You knock them down. Let's say you did like an unblockable, and as Oki, you did this, and then you did it one more time. What you can do is cancel, like do it again, but cancel. So you can do that move, hold down, right? So you do up two, then hold down. It cancels the last hit, and you're in crouch, and they're gonna crouch to block it. Then you do the combo. And then you would do 100 something odd damage. So, let me focus looking at this. So you can go from basically losing to like winning. And you can see how much health I have here, right? Like I gained a significant amount of portion of health during that combo. And that was without heat. I think with heat it's even more somehow. Like oh no, it is heat. Yeah, I forget about this part. And then there's 91 damage. They still have like gray health, but like you get the point. I think you gain even more health when you do the heat dash there. I always forget that like I run up in heat dash. I mean, I run up in do heat burst to extend the combo because it's just second nature now. Let's go back to character selection because there's something I wanted to say about the characters. For example, um, Claudio does so much fucking damage. Claudio has a bunch of good tools. Any weakness Claudio has now, I think he should keep that weakness. Let's let's not touch Claudio. All right. I think for the health of the game, they're gonna end up reducing his health. I mean, not his health, his damage. But for the main part of like his moveset, I think the thing is I haven't labbed Claudio to know what his like broken tools are, and I was thinking about playing Claudio for like a second, and then I ran into a Claudio who like teabagged me because I didn't know the matchup, and I why are Claudio players such fucking dicks, bro? I don't know why. They play a character like this and then like behave like an asshole. I don't know. Like I feel like the people who play Claudio will be the type of people to like call someone like, oh no, they like they'll just use a slur or some shit to like the person's face. I've never had a good interaction with the Claudio. Zafina players, no clue what you guys are like. You don't exist. Uh, I'm not sure what they would need to do to like. I labbed a little bit of Zafina. I just haven't gone through her main move list because like yeah, I just needed to know what she had from her stances, and I've already forgotten. Paul, I honestly don't know. No, seriously, I genuinely don't know what you could do for Paul to make him like. Because he feels kind of like in a nice place. He's just honest. He's just, that's the best way to describe it. And like, I know it's what like everyone says, but like, take it from me. After labbing him for just 2 seconds, maybe some like high end Paul gameplay. If I watched it, I'll go, yeah, that's a very good setup. But like, I would immediately assume that like that Paul player is trying his ass off. Like that's blood, sweat, and tears he put in. That's blood, sweat, and tears he put in just to make Paul look that good, right? Just to make Paul look that nice, right? But I haven't. I'm not so in tune with Paul off the 4 hours I played him to know what to do to like have a healthy addition to his kit without making him dishonest. You know what I mean? Because like the wrong inclusion of something or the wrong buffing of something by a couple of points can genuinely make a character feel so much worse. Like the point of his character is that he does a bunch of fucking damage with his mids, right? He's a heavy hitter. So he wants you to duck. But since he has lackluster lows, he has to work to make you duck so he can like, get the point, get the what he not the points. So he can get an opportunity to use those like heavy hitting death fist like combos. You know what I mean? So he can actually put in work and, you know, take off so much of your life bar. Raven, from the little bit that I've played Raven, which is more than I've played Victor, right? So from what I've played of Raven, right, I don't have like this is gonna be a common feature of the characters I've labbed because I haven't played them long enough to know intimately what they would want. And for my own character Yoshi, I wouldn't want anything else. The only thing I would want from like I'll get there when I get there, but like for Raven, all his clones being minus 14, I understand why you wouldn't want like the character to be super chippy like Alyssa, right? Or Kuma or Panda or like Heihachi. Like you wouldn't want a character whose whole thing because there's already so many characters who like their gameplay style is I'm going to give you a bunch of chip damage, but like Raven has when he's in heat, his clones become safe, right? In fact, I think his clones become plus. I don't think they're plus, but I think they might be plus. Yeah, because in that case they would like jab him out of it. So like his clones become like +3, I think. So from like in a situation where you want to mash against Raven while he's in heat, if he does a clone combo, he can then frame trap you into like a counter hit launcher or like a counter hit knockdown. You know what I mean? Like he can use that to frame trap or even frame trap you into like a mix up with like something like 4-2 where you try to press, you get hit by 4-2. On hit is like tons of advantage, right? Like I think plus not tons of advantage, like +7 on hits. He gets a mix up, right? He can frame trap you from there for like. The point is, there's the utility approach of frame traps, and then there's like the launcher approach. They'd be like, hey, I know you finna like press some shit, you're dying, okay? Um, both of those are frame traps, by the way. I know I said one of them is utility. I just consider like I consider going for the launcher when you have advantage to be like kind of a generic choice, while something like choosing like back one with your frame event, like back one to give yourself frame advantage, and then go into a frame trap to be a frame trap. Like that's the utility of it. You know what I mean? Because you're going for the choice with your advantage of like I'm going to do something that gives me more advantage so I can loop it and keep the pressure up. I would want them to reduce the amount of heat his safe clone combos use. Like back back 2-1-1 is a clone string, for example. I think those clones, right, for all his clone strings, the yellow ones, should guarantee when using them, they should give back like a little bit of heat. It's either give back a little bit of heat or reduce the cost of each of those strings. Because right now, Right now, it's to the point where Raven can use about three of those strengths. And let's say you don't disrespect and you just let Raven press. It creates a mental thing in your brain where Raven is going to do his strings and you're not going to touch your controller. Which is good because if you're not touching your controller, you're putting yourself into like a false sense of security where Raven can then go for some sort of mix up or some sort of like slow move maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not a high level Raven player and I don't play against Ravens. So like having the way it is now in theory the way it is now already sets it up where Raven can bully you with his heat and then do a heat smash into like mix up, or he can bully you with his heat. You press, you take tons of damage because Raven has tons of damage, which I hope he never loses. Right, and then essentially, if you don't press at all, he can just stop doing the like. He can not finish the string, or he can finish the string for plus frames, and then do something like a low hit or a low kick that gives him advantage. And while you're mentally trying to catch up, he can do something else. You know what I mean? Like he's really just a mix-up character, and it like really needs him to condition you to press. I don't give a fuck about Victor. I'm playing Victor as we speak to learn like the matchup completely. I don't give a single fuck. Uh, I feel like they should buff Azucena. Not because I play Azucena, not because I even like playing against Azucenas, but because they kind of did her dirty. No one speaks of this person. He should stay in the closet in which he comes from. I'm not calling him gay. I'm saying he's literally in the closet on the top shelf with like Monopoly that you haven't touched in years. Fuck you, Law. Alright? But you okay. Alright? You're not too bad. They need to buff Leroy. Listen, I know I didn't make it all the way through his move list, and I know I'm not a listen. I'm gonna have to watch a King J Ray video, all right, for some Leroy tips, to see if like what he got, cause I couldn't make it through the lab. I looked through the list of moves, and I got sleepy. I le- I, I legitimately got bored and sleepy. And listen, I'm so slow about labbing because I sit through, I look at them, I check and see if they're counter hit launchers, I check and see if they're sidesteppable. I go, okay, so this stance you step this way. Okay, these are like you can jab all these options out even if he is transitioning on plus frames. Or hey, like for example with Clive, Phoenix, if he's raw Phoenix, you can jab him out every time. Like if he's just like in the neutral, if he's going into Phoenix directly in your face, you can punch him. If he's going into Phoenix on block with anything except for down 1-2, you can punch him in his face. If he's doing 4-4 into Phoenix, just punch him. In fact, if he's doing 4-4 into Phoenix on block, launch him. That's simple, bro. Now, of course, you're going to need to practice in the skill and the mental framework to do that, but like, Leroy's moveset was so uninteresting visually that the only thing that I remember caring about was the fact that he had a stick. I the only reason I remember any of his moveset is because I remember looking at Hermit and being disappointed. Um, not because I'm a Leroy player or like because in Tekken 7, me and my boys were playing Tekken 7 and we saw like Leroy. Leroy reminds me of like family members the way that he looks. So like it's kind of funny to see him in a game, and like his character and his personality itself is cool. It's just that like his fighting style of like I just put the hands on you isn't really my thing, right? Now I have a couple of friends who think like Leroy's like cold as fuck, right? And at our skill level, Leroy can put in work. All right, at our skill level, Leroy probably can do whatever he wants. But from what I've seen of his move list, and from what I've understand about like frame data, so far Leroy seems to be very underwhelming, and he either needs buffs or they need to change his moves around. Cause I'm guessing he still has the same moves from seven, right? I'm guessing. So it has to be a frame data situation where like the skeleton is the bones are there, the muscle is there already. Uh, like he just needs the frame data. Like the muscle needs to be changed around so that he's more effective. Um, Maybe some of the frame data for his mix ups can be changed. Again, I'm not a Leroy main. I just know that I was bored. Also, why can he only use the cane once per game? What does the cane do that I don't understand? I hope I find out. Leo is boring. I know his move list is boring because every Leo I fight, they bore me, and all their moves look the same. I wouldn't listen. There's people who like Leo. I'm never gonna ask for him to be nerfed. I'm never gonna be asked for him to be removed. Uh, I will say, I I hope he gets because something tells me Leo has like undiscovered tools that are like very good, but since like people who played through went, this guy's boring, these tools are cool, and since there's a lack of Leos, they go, who really cares, and like move on, or like there's things that are underlooked and like only like certain pro players like really think about or care about or use or utilize. And whenever you're fighting a Leo, you don't realize it's happening because you just think you don't know the matchup. Hey, bro, there's a Lydia main out there, bro, who's like God of Destruction. He has a YouTube channel. I forget the name of it, but like the shit he shows, the shit that he be showing for Lydia, she good. She's okay. She's good. I don't need her nerf. She's not played nearly enough for me to fucking care. And even in the future, like here's the thing, I don't want anyone nerfed, except for Jin. I want Jin nerfed. I want Jin nerfed to the ground. Fuck Jin. I hope he burns the hall. I hope Jin goes back home and Devil Jin has found a new body. Like I legitimately don't like Jin. Fuck Jin. That's my review for Lydia. Fuck Jin. Titan needs to have its hitbox and range reduced. Prominence doesn't need to have like prominence should be one either unsafe, needs to not track at all. No tracking at all for prominence. I mean, no matter what they do, tracking has to be removed. It has to be unsafe on block 2 so it can't be spammed all the time. Maybe even a range reduction at some point. Maybe like a little bit like 10% off its range. Full screen is crazy. Full screen plus heat engager is not a healthy combo at all. All right, so it either needs to stop being a heat engager and lose tracking, or it needs to have its range reduced and no tracking. Plus unsafe. Like here's the deal. If it's a heat engager with that range, and they make it -14 like the rest of the moves, it will force a heat engager like force a heat dash out. So at least that way, when they like use the move incorrectly, they're forced to do a certain interaction or take a punishment. Right? -13, -12 even. But like -13, -12 is like a good area to force them to have to heat dash so they don't take the damage. Right now it's fucking free. It's just free. Listen, I like the character. I like the way the looks. I like how the moves. They feel good. They feel simple to use. They don't feel contrived. I don't have to like remember a very specific use case for each of these moves. I just go, okay, this will work in this situation, and then apply it. All right, it's not like, oh, with Yoshimitsu, he has certain moves where it's like, why in the fuck would I ever use that? Where is that useful at? Like, no, seriously, there's moves where it's just like I don't understand when or why I would ever use that sort of thing. And trust me, I'm a very creative person. All right, I don't like to like toot my own horn, but I can come up with ways to use things. I don't understand like that one move by Yoshimitsu. I don't even know the input. I just remember looking at it and going, "What the fuck? How would that he? Who with that trick?" Right? His range. If he's going to be a character who controls the fucking neutral, understandable, right? We've already covered prominence. Got it. Already covered it. Thank God it didn't hit grounded. It also wall splatted too. So they have to remove the wall splat mechanic of it because it's basically it's the reason it being a wall splat is bad for the game is the same reason that Dragon Off Sneak 4 is bad for the game. Because even though this move isn't as overtuned as that, if someone's at the wall, basically Clive can do forward 1+2 prominence, right? Over and over and over and over and over. And with the +9 that I'm at from blocking the move, I could do something. But let's say ignoring parry. Let's say I do something on block and I decide to disrespect the negative frames for some reason. I essentially die because you're just gonna prominence at the wall, and it's a heat engager, so you can get a heat dash whenever you like, but you're already at the wall. So like if you get a heat engager with it and I'm at the wall, then essentially I'm just cooked. The pressure that he has on top of having a guard break that is very easy to do, like very accessible. So for example, Yoshimitsu has the no sword stance or while in heat guard break of Kensho 2 1+2, right? And if you're close to the person when you do it, they just punch you and they move on. If you're far away, they can sidestep, right? They can just sidestep your guard break, right? And like, cause it's super slow. It's like very very slow, and it's a very very obvious animation where it doesn't even look like I'm about to hit, like, it's like a Looney Tunes ass like wind up, bro. Like it takes so long to do, or at least that's how it feels, right? Even when other Yoshimitsu's are about to do it to me, I always are able to like not get hit by it. So like it's restrictive to a stance, a very obvious, intricate, flashy looking stance, into another intricate, flashy looking big ass wind up. It's impossible to miss. It's impossible to miss a Yoshimitsu going into like the tech trap. Impossible. Like it's genuinely impossible. If you are using your eyes, you're going to see him do the tech trap. Maybe you were rushing and you stood up too soon, so you weren't paying attention to which like way you need to get up. Then you got fucked up that one time. Other than that, your eyes are wide open. Or at least at my level, I'm not being murdered by Yoshimitsu's going for it. Because I know there's setups, but none of us do the setup. We're not cheesing each other that way. We're still basically going through like the basics of the game. At the higher levels, like these guys are playing the actual game. So I'm guessing in the middle area, right? Like in like the Tekken King area, Yoshimitsu's are fighting for their fucking lives, and they're gonna pull out any trick in the bag they can to try to succeed, or they're bullshitting. No in between. No in between. The only change that I would give Yoshimitsu, besides like slightly nerfing his damage, because because here's the deal: if you nerf Yoshimitsu's damage, every time you lose to a Yoshimitsu, you can never be happy. And it sounds stupid to fucking say, but like you will never be happy losing to a Yoshimitsu if he gets nerfed. Now it's like he did a big ass combo damage, or like I disrespected 1 2 1+2. He wall splatted me with the shit. and then got like a free 100 like combo. Like it's fucking stupid. Whatever. Like he's just like a busted character. You can say you can literally lie to yourself. You can lie to yourself. You can say I lost that match because Yoshimitsu's Yoshimitsu. That Yoshi could have been playing fucking like footsie with you. He could have been poking you up, bro. He could have legitimately playing a nice slow controlled game and legitimately anticipating your moves. I sidestep with Yoshimitsu when I have spin. I sidestep. So he could be sidestepping you. Not no. I need to process. Not sidestep one. Not like I'm sidestepping immediately into a counter hit launching move. No, I'm physically sidewalking and then doing the launcher. And I know it's not a big a deal at whatever level you're at, but for me, I just started doing that. I'm doing that now. I'm not using spin. Okay? So when a Yoshimitsu, you can say Yoshimitsu was just doing some broken bullshit. Yoshimitsu was just abusing the broken tools he has, and it's going to always be the word broken, because that's just a YouTuber slang at this point, right? I don't think Clive's forward 1+2 is broken. No, broken would be if it was an unblockable. That would be broken. That would legitimately ruin the game in all like sense of the word. The game would be over because everyone would pick Clive, and if you didn't pick Clive, you would not be playing the game, and it would be a race to who can get the unblockable first. The reason, right, that I can say that it's going to be worse with Yoshi is that when you lose to a Yoshi now, it's either I don't know the matchup, it's Yoshi's a bullshit character, right? Like that person didn't do anything good. It's just Yoshi. It's just his character, or this game is just terrible in the first place, right? Those are the reasons you can lie to yourself now about. You can say that like Yoshi bullshits you, and Flash is such a fucking crutch, and you're saying this with zero time played on Yoshi against no one near your skill level. You just get your ass whooped, right? So you can, and the thing is, I'm making an assumption by saying that, but like I've met people who don't understand how Flash works. So you can make that assumption. But when he's nerfed and let's say his max combo is like 50 damage, he's just beating your ass for longer. Like, are we really not peeping what's about to happen if he gets nerfed? First of all, you're facing Yoshis who have very little skill and you're losing. No. Let's really lock in. You're only bitching because you're losing. That's the only reason you're ever going to be like sending hate mail, key charging, bitching online. You're only bitching because you're losing. The only times I've ever thought, man, fuck Reina, is when I run to a Reina who I just can't seem to like get a hold of. I just can't seem to like get my punishment down. I can't lock on to like the pattern. You're losing because you're bitching because you're losing, and you're losing because you're bitching. Like it's that simple. It's that fucking simple, bro. And you could be calm and collected, right? And you'll have a very enjoyable match, and you'll still blame it on it being Yoshimitsu. But then you go and play an Asuka and lose, and then you say it's the matchup you don't know. But are you ever going to lab Yoshi? Are you ever going to lab Asuka? Are you ever going to lab Lee? Right? And the thing is, you've heard someone say Asuka's bullshit, or you hear people be like, oh yeah, Lee is like so honest, so hardworking. So whenever you lose to Lee, you're still angry, but you're just gonna be like, fair. Like, bro, like I'm saying this as a Yoshi player that guaranteed if Yoshi gets nerfed where his damage is way lower, because I went to 7 to see what his damage was like, just in case. If he's nerfed to that position, you're going to be juggled for way longer. Because it's not like those tools don't exist. I don't use Tech Trap. I've won all of my games just with the regular unblockables and the regular tools. Right? So I'm going to have to work so much more harder than everybody else to win again. And if I win against you and you're playing Dragonov, what does that say about you? Because now, not only did you get your ass beat for longer, you can't even say I'm worse than you. Because I have to try so much harder to you to win. And I did. And like, when people be like, oh, so what if you play a low tier character, bro? Just pick a top tier and shut up. I did. And you guys bitched. I picked the top tier. You all bitched about the character. And then he got nerfed. And now I'm back at a low tier. And now I'm beating you up and I'm bragging about it. It's just like a toxic cycle. It's going to be a bad cycle. Because guaranteed, the second anybody says something to me, and it's like, oh, you're only one because you're playing Yoshi, they look stupid. The second anyone goes, oh, you're trash, I'm gonna go, well, you lost 2 games in a row to Yoshi. What? Oh, you don't know the matchup? So did you know the matchup 2 years ago, or did you know the matchup like 6 months ago, or did you know the matchup when you were on Twitter typing? No, you didn't. So you didn't know the matchup then. So why the fuck did you think you can give your opinion? It's that simple. It's a lose-lose scenario for all of us. Because in a scenario where that happens, beyond having to get your ass beat longer, beyond having to deal with like Yoshi like being like Yoshi for longer, beyond knowing that you are the worst player, like then of the two, beyond if the Yoshi key charges you after beating you, you can what are you gonna what are you gonna say? If you get key charged by Yoshi who beats you 2 matches in a row on Yoshi, who's like been heavily nerfed, so he's had to like dominate you the entire game to win. Can you even be upset? Can you? Because if it's like a Harong, or if it's like a Nina, a Dragonov, Claudio, Victor, and they key charge you, it's like, not gonna lie, bro. Like you're playing kind of a cheese character. Like you're playing Law, and you key charge. Just like your character's cheese. Well, like you're just a scumbag who's being crutched. Like you're being carried. The second you can't say Yoshi's being carried anymore, and they key charge you, it's going to make your day worse. And listen, I'm not saying every Yoshi should key charge, but I will say it's gonna be funny if it does happen. It's just gonna be funny. Either way, it's going to be a lose lose. Yoshi's gonna be upset that the character was nerfed. Everybody else is gonna be upset that Yoshis are now being fucking toxic all the time. Cause best believe, bro, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be toxic. I'm going to be toxic. I'm planning on being toxic. If I'm going to play a character that's completely dog shit because everybody else bitched, when I get to the higher levels, I'm key charging everybody. Everybody can get the reruns. Don't worry. I'll always like. That's a lie. That's a lie. I'm not even gonna lie. Actually, at the higher level, depending, I think I will like rematch people. But like, if you're playing Dragonov, if you're playing Alyssa, if you're playing anyone who's like brain dead easy and a top tier, I'm key charging you when I win. It's that simple. And I wouldn't do that for Raven. I wouldn't do that for like, who else is a low tier? I can't think of anyone right now. I wouldn't do that for Asuka. I'm purely doing it as a former top tier who got dethroned because other top tiers bitched. Cause you know damn well, every, I have not seen a single, like I'm trying to think. I've rarely see Pandas, rarely see Oscars, rarely see Zayus, right? Rarely see Ninas, rarely see like Fangs. It's all Dragonoffs. It's all Laws. It's all Reynas, Victors. It's all like the like aggressive, push forward, button mash characters. And you lost to a guy whose max combo damage is like 50. Good luck, bro. That's all I can say. Don't care about Fang. Don't know anything about Harong. Don't want Nina nerfed. The thing is, I heard people wanted her nerfed. I just don't know. Like not Tim the Tap Man. The main man says she has everything, and that you know she's just too easy to like go on cruise mode with. I have no clue. No clue about Kazuya. I looked through his list. Honestly, it was kind of boring. I want Jin to burn. Down to fighting Jin is. Listen, fighting Dragonov isn't fun, right? It's just not fun for me. Fighting Jin is even worse. That's the end of the sentence. Fuck Jin. Zhao Yu, no clue. Asuka, I feel like she needs buffs. I wouldn't know what they would be, but she needs the buffs. Panda has a lack of identity, but she's a fucking bear, so don't you dare buff her. She's just as good as Kuma, and the only reason people sit there and be like, why even worry about Panda when we have Kuma? Is because Kuma has an electric. I don't get the fucking point. What does that even mean? Like at this point, I'm very like dissuaded from what having an electric really fucking means. I don't get it. It's not like can Kuma fucking perfect electric? I guess all Mishima's electric automatically in heat. So like he has a bunch of chip damage. He has basically the same stances. So like he's like pretty much a better version of Panda. But like the only changes I guess I would see is like something leaning in more into her identity, so there's more variety. But like Panda is still a bear, and bears do nasty shit right now. Like it's genuinely bad. Pandas do very nasty things right now, very nasty. Heihachi's in a good place. He's extreme damage for like literally no poking. Uh, I hate hell sweeps, but I'm not gonna ask for anybody's character to be nerfed, except if you're Jin. Fuck Jin mains. You guys are literally boring. If you're a Jin main, you're just there to press cheap buttons. And I know I'm salty right now. Like I know I'm just like talking at this point. Um, but from the bottom of my heart, I genuinely just want you to know, like the part that isn't a joke, the part that isn't me just like talking, is that I do hate Jin's. I think Jin is boring. I think his move list is boring. His personality is boring. I don't like the fact that he's easier to play, right? And the thing is, I support the idea of making video games more accessible. Why Jin though? Jin should not be accessible. No, 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 seriously. This character specifically should not be accessible. This character should not be so simple. Fighting Jins online shouldn't feel as bad as it does. And I know there's counterplay and I know there's things you can do. It just doesn't feel like it whenever I'm facing Jin. And if I finish the lab work just to face a Jin and it still feels basically so boring and unsafe to play against, then I'm gonna have to block every Jin I see. And again, it's definitely salt from losing to Jins, but it's also the fact that it does not feel good ever. Like here's the thing. Here's the thing. I can lose to a Kazuya, but I'm enjoying my time. I can lose to a Nina, but that's because I don't know the matchup. And if I do, I'd probably enjoy it better. Fuck Harong. Fuck Fang. I can lose to a Yoshi. I know the matchup. It's my fault. There's clear patterns they're doing. They're flow stating. I should be able to pick up on it and break, like, stop it. Right? Clive is really fucking annoying just because of how much range he has. And there's punishments involved because, the people I play against are terrible and they just want to use the move. But I can tell at the higher ranks, it's going to be nothing but fucking prominence over and over again. but I still have more fun playing against them than when I do fucking Jen. It's that simple. I don't know the matchup for Lee, but at least it feels like there's something. Like, I feel like if I labbed Lee, I'd win more. I feel like if I labbed Jin, I'd still lose. No, no, seriously. I feel like if I labbed Jin, I would still lose to the moves. Kuma's a bear that does a lot of damage and chip, and it's kind of annoying to fight. Lily's annoying, but hey, what are you gonna do about it? Alyssa needs to be banned, except she has some cool fits. So don't ban her. Just make her less corny, or move the fit to someone else. Like this exact move all of Alyssa's stuff. Make her a twin sister that doesn't have chainsaws. Just has like I don't fucking know, bro. Just make her a twin sister that doesn't fight like her, and is a lot calmer, right? That's a lot like tuned down. And maybe I'll play this character for the skin. All right, maybe I'll play her instead of Alyssa. All right, fuck Lars. Listen, I know Lars isn't a problem. I know eventually there's counterplay. I know stuff like that, but I just don't give a fuck. I just don't. I don't. June, I want to play her. Devil Jin, um, whatever he needs to become a little bit better. I appreciate that. Move him up in the tier list. I hope June gets her like nerfs reverted. Right. I hate fighting Junes, but that's because I didn't finish labbing, and that's on me. Jack is a despicable fucking character. Why does he have a 10 frame heat smash? Why do you give the most random bullshit to bullshit characters? I get it. No one plays him, and you want to give him something that makes people want to play him. I heard 10 frame heat smash and went, maybe I want to try him out. Maybe I want to play him. And then I reminded myself that he looks like this. He's gonna have the most like bullshit playstyle possible. Oh, bro, 90% of jacks are carried by the fact that like when someone says no one plays your character, if I say no one play Asuka, that that's obviously like I'm being exaggerative. I've seen several Askas, not in the same density as Jen, Kazuya, Reina, Victor, obviously, but I've seen 3 jacks in my lifetime. They better not buff King. they they better not buff King. I listen. I haven't labbed him, and if I did, I'd still lose. It's 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 to the point where fighting against Kings, I'm gonna admit it. I just need them to be ass. If I want to enjoy it, bro, they have to be ass because they have to be like not ass. That's the wrong word. They have to be patient. Because the second they start doing a large amount of grabs, I'm just not having fun. I'm not. Because I don't know the breaks. And learning the breaks just to like get mixed up on. Because I know that his list is going to be like, okay, this grab is a mix up within a mix up. Good fucking luck. No. Yeah. Dragonov. He's probably in a good place now. And Brian. I think Brian's in a decent spot. But then again, I'm not quite sure. I have not played that many matches with him. Uh, I buffing as far as like moves go, I don't think so. Other than that, I think everyone's. Oh, Eddie Gordo. Oh, Eddie, I don't play you, and I don't care about you. I really don't. I don't want you nerfed. Actually, I want Eddie Gordo buffed. I know it's a strange thing to say. I know, I know. Listen. Eddie Gordo has been renowned for his ability to mop up low level lobbies, right? but like the farther you go up, the easier he is to deal with because of like skill increases and like people knowing the mix ups, labbing the character, knowing stuff like that, the experience. But like if listen, if he's not good just due to the nature of his moves, like them having him be in a certain stance, like the copyright like fighting style that is required for his character to exist the way he is, leave him the way he is. But if it's like a frame data situation, tune up some of his moves. All right, that's all I can really say. Like if it's like the bones, not the muscle, right? Because like I can't remember the metaphor I used back then. Because like the skin on top, like for example, Yoshimitsu as a core character is essentially the bones, which I could say would be like the frame data, right? The frame data dictates how fast this character is gonna play, how aggressive they're gonna play, which instances are they gonna press, right? That's the bones. That's the structure of the character. That's basically who they are as far as like play and feel, right? Like on a very competitive level, this is like who they are. The muscle is essentially the parts beneath that, I guess, where I guess the parts like above that, where it's like animations and stuff like that, where it's the part that gets things done. The metaphor is so shit, bro. I can't believe how bad this metaphor is. Because I know the skin is like the appeal. That's like the visuals. That's like the ninja aesthetic. That's the fashion. That's the skin. And then something part of it is frame data, and the other part is like animation, where I'm talking about specifically like how you have down forward four, which is a very simple kick. Like the moves themselves look good, and like if the muscles is the moves, if the problem is because just like Yoshimitsu, when Eddie Gordo goes into like his moves, his stances cause him to be floated, where you can easily power crush or like launch him. Then don't change his stances because that's the character identity. But Eddie Gordo has existed for a very very long time, and I know he was good in some games. So if his stances are the same way, it has to be like a bone issue. It has to be frame data. It has to be like the core of the character has issues that need to be addressed. And if you want to buff that, so be it. Because it's not going to affect me. Uh, I'm just going to block every Gordo player I see. Other than that, I hope we get, you know, the season 2 patches soon. Because labbing characters and then having to go back and look at each of their moves again slowly is annoying as fuck. But I've wasted my friend's time enough. I'll see y'all later.